This is Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon. Mitch LaFon.
Welcome to this episode of Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon, and joining me on the phone from the Stone Temple Pilots, it is singer Jeff Gutt. The band is going to be heading out on tour with Rival Sons. You do not want to miss that, and of course they have the 25th anniversary super deluxe edition of Purple coming out, so have a chance to talk to Jeff about all of that. Now, of course, he wasn't the singer on Purple when it came out, but he does certainly enjoy playing the songs. And last year, the band was on tour with Seether. Seether were opening up, and I had a chance to see them at the Place Belle. And I happen to have had all access passes for that show, and I spent a lot of the time in the front row or in the pit or near the pit. And I got to see Jeff up close and not just hear the vocals, but see the way he moves and the facial expressions and how he dealt with the crowd. And he was absolutely spectacular. You know, when you have a replacement player, especially the singer, it's hard to score those points with the audience. And I got to say, Jeff scored them. He was great. That was a memorable night. So good on Jeff. Anyway, we'll have the interview with Jeff here in a minute. Now, if you noticed yesterday, July 15th, 2019, you will have noticed that on the podcast feed there was a different icon, a yellow icon rather than my traditional orange one. And you went, hey, what's that? Well, that is Alice Cooper guitarist Ryan Roxie, who has a podcast of his own called In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie, and it featured an in-depth conversation with Blackberry Smoke's Charlie Starr. And you're probably thinking, well, what was that? What is that? Why is that on the Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon feed? Well, as I just mentioned, it is Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon Presents, and Ryan will be doing these podcasts, hopefully weekly. It might be every couple of weeks. Remember, he is on tour with Alice Cooper with Hailstorm opening up, which, by the way, I'm going to go see in Guilford, New Hampshire in August. So he's going to get them as quickly as possible, hopefully weekly, hopefully on Mondays. And I know he's also done Michael Sturto of formerly of Lou Graham's band. He's also done Steve Brown, who's gone out with Def Leppard, Dennis DeYoung, Trickster, and one that I'm very excited about. Well, okay, I'm excited about all of them. I don't want... makes it sound like I'm not excited to hear Steve Brown. We love Steve Brown, the mighty Steve Brown. But he did one with Phil X of Bon Jovi, and he did that one in person. Now, on the podcast that you get at Spotify and iHeart and all these places, you will hear the audio. Most of these interviews he's done... In fact, I think all of them, actually, he's done visually, either in person, with like Phil X, for example, or over Skype with a video. And on his YouTube page, so just, Google YouTube Ryan Roxie, he's going to put you the video. So you can see the expression on Phil X's face, on Charlie's face, and all that. So come here for the audio. Just subscribe to Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon. You'll get my show, you'll get Ryan's show, but if you want to get the YouTube stuff, head over to Ryan's page and you'll see that. So, and you'll enjoy that. And speaking of YouTube, now that I'm independent, I don't have anything in my contract that says that my content has to be exclusive, because I don't have a contract, because I am my contract. I put all the shows on YouTube. So you will have it wherever you're listening now, whether it's Spotify or iHeart or Apple Podcasts. You will hear the show every week, or during Mitch Marathon Month every day. But I also throw the audio on YouTube. So if you're grazing around YouTube and you say, hey, maybe I'll just listen to Mitch. Who does he have on? You can do that now. And I will finish with this. Yesterday, July 15th, 2019, I was at the Centre Vidéotron in Quebec. A beautiful arena, by the way, that they spent $500 million on to attract an NHL team. And then the NHL expanded and gave a franchise to Vegas. And the arena sat there, and Quebec said, please pick us. And then the NHL gave an arena to, or not an arena, but a team to Seattle. And listen, as a Montreal Canadiens fan, I'm good with no team in Quebec. You know, we've already got to contend with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins. We don't need anything more. We're good. So good on the NHL, and go Golden Knights. You're my favorite. Anyway, I was there to see Tesla and Def Leppard, the first of 3 shows this week for me. I will also be in Montreal. Well, first of 5 shows for me, but I'll be in Montreal to see Heart on July 16th. Today. I'll be in Montreal to see Tesla Def Leppard. I'll be in Ottawa to see Tesla Def Leppard. And then I'll be in Kemptville, Ontario to see George Thorogood. Anyway, my point here is Tesla Man and Def Leppard, it's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. They go together so well. It's just such a pleasing experience, concert experience. And the guys in the band, both bands, just, they couldn't be nicer. Super professional, super kind, super good. Show runs like a machine. A personal buddy named Steve is now Frank Hannon's tech. You're welcome, Steve. Listen, I got him the job. And it's a great time. Now, it is a Canadian tour, and eventually, I guess it'll head over to the States and stuff. But if you have a chance, or if you're in Canada, do go see the band. Go see this show. It is fantastic. And I'm assuming for the next episode on Mitch Marathon Month, I will tell you how great Heart was and probably how great George Thorogood was. So check all this stuff out. Live music, man, that's the way to go. We need live music, so support the bands. And support the show. Subscribe now if you can. And hey, here we are. Without further ado, from the Stone Temple Pilots. Wait. Before we get over to the interview with Jeff, I just have to mention I had to record the interview, this one and the one with John Anderson of Yes, while on the road. And so I had to use the built-in microphone with the computer. So I sound just a little less present in the mix than I normally do. But don't worry, everything sounds fine. But I just want to let you know that. And let me count Jeff in here. So without further ado, here is Jeff from the Stone Temple Pilots. On 3, 2, 1, we are speaking with the Stone Temple Pilots singer Jeff. Pleasure, Jeff. Last time we spoke was just before you went on tour with Seether last year. Always great. Now you've got this tour coming up with Rival Sons. So before we get into your career and singing with the band, let's just talk about this pairing. Rival Sons and Stone Temple Pilot. Great pairing. Just talk to me about that tour and those two bands together.
Yeah, they're a great band. I've been hip to them for a while. And when it came up, I was really excited about the possibility of it happening. Because their sound is they're kind of a throwback sound. It's like a retro rock thing, and the singer's great. And I remember listening to their record when I was in the Middle East, and they have a song called "The Jordan." At the Jordan River, listening to that song, so I had to tell them the story. And I just ran into him not too long ago, and was telling him that story. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that tour. It's going to be an awesome event.
It really will be. Now, it's only about 12 shows for now. Do you see it expanding into a longer tour, or maybe revisiting it in 2020?
There's always a possibility of that. Once we get rolling, we'll have a better idea of that. I know there's stuff on the calendar, but I'm not sure what's confirmed and what isn't yet. But yeah, when you tour people, you kind of become a big extended family, So anytime you can keep it going, for sure, it's a plus. And they're great dudes, they're great guys. So it'll be great, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
It really will be. So let me talk to you about joining Stone Temple Pilots, because as I said, I saw you with the band last year opening up, or with Seether opening up. I happened to be in the pit for the entire show, and I got to see you really up close. And what I learned is that you are just fantastic. You fit the role perfectly. Now that you've been with the band for more than a couple of years, talk to me about how you feel in the band, you know, the comfort level, growing in terms of stage presence and confidence. Talk to me about you being now the singer of Stone Temple Pilot.
Yeah, I still pinch myself about it sometimes, but it's really a cool vibe because they give me, they let me do my thing, and they really, I think they really appreciate what I bring to the table as a songwriter and as a live performance, because I've always been really into singing really well live, trying to get it to sound, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to the vocals, so sometimes I listen back on some of the YouTube stuff and I'm like, oh, I missed that note, and it sticks with me. It's been amazing, and the fact that they respect me and give me, because even you're fronting a band, they want to be there with you, and stand shoulder to shoulder. They don't want to be dragging anyone along. So it's been a really awesome feeling to be able to go out there and put on a great show and have them at the end of the night be like, dude, you killed it tonight, or whatever, It's just really, it's an amazing feeling to be, especially in a band this big, it's like joining Led Zeppelin basically, So it's an honor, definitely.
Yeah, and by the way, I like that you miss a note here and then, because it shows that the band is live. You're not playing to backing tracks, and you know what? Alan Niven, who used to manage Guns N' Roses, once told me that there's a perfection in the imperfection, and that's the way it should be. So just real quick, when you did the album, which is referred to as the 2018 album, but the Stone Temple Pilots album, how free were you to be Jeff and participate and offer suggestions and lyrics and so, or were you just really a hired gun and they said, hey, go sit over there, and when we'll tell you to sing, you come and, how much how much did you get to participate?
That would have been a lot easier.
Right.
That would have been a lot easier if I was just a hired gun. But no, it's something that I've always done. It's like, I've always been I always loved making records, even if I just made them to make them. Even if there was no label or no nothing. I've always just made records with my friends or whatever. And I've done it with bands in the past that had deals, and so I've had that experience, and it's something that I love to do. So when it came time it was still during the audition process, towards the end of it, when they brought me in the studio, and they gave me 6 songs that they had the music already recorded to, and I had a few days with them on my own. Then I came in and just kind of scattered some melodies that I had come up with, no real lyrics, and most of that stuff we kept. So I did all 6 songs the first day, and they were like, all right. So I think that was those other songs that grew up different ways, like Art of Letting Go. Was Dean was in the other room playing acoustic guitar, and I just came in and sat with them, and they had this little piece that they had come up with, the brothers, and it went a little different, and I was like, oh, I'm hearing it like this, and they kind of followed me on it, and it ended up working out, and they were like, okay, he knows what he's doing. So that was how it all happened, and it was it's very intimate to share songwriting with people, and the process of it, just going through it together, and just putting out your ideas, and how they accept them, or it's just a very tricky thing. So the fact that it worked so well I took that as just go with it. But it was an amazing experience.
And it turned out great. So okay, so you mentioned that you were in bands previously. So talk to me quickly about Dry Cell, because the band was together for many years. You put out some albums, but talk to me about some of the challenges you faced getting to a level like Stone Temple Pilots, because it's not easy, even though you have a record company, even though you have an album and a band and you're on tour. It's hard to go to that next level. So what were some of the challenges you faced, and eventually why did the band not make it to that next level?
Well, that's a really long story, but but I'll give it a shot. I ended up joining that band on it was just chance that there's a band called Beautiful Creatures that had DJ Ashbaugh.
Oh, I remember them.
Some other guys in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were opening up for Kiss, and they were coming through Detroit, and basically the guy that signed Linkin Park signed them, and then he had this band of these young cats that play. I mean, they were like 13, 14, and 15 at the time, and I was 24 or something. So, I went and met the dude and sang for him backstage, and next thing you know, I'm on a plane, and next thing you know, I'm signed to Warner Brothers. So, it was like, okay, this is how this is supposed to go, And then I don't know, it's just there's a lot of politics and labels and relationships that kind of frayed before we even got there, and so it was a challenge, and then it just didn't work out. I mean, there was a lot of arguing over budget and all kinds of things, and getting to the politics of music, and it becomes not fun, and I really burnt me out on music and the music industry. I didn't even want to deal with it at all. So I moved back to Detroit and basically quit dry cell. And I had a son, so I wanted to go be a dad to him for a while. And then it was actually me showing him music again and showing him like how my dad showed me music. So it was a lot of Simon and Garfunkel and the Carpenters and things like that. And that's when I kind of realized, like, I'm not gonna let them take music away from me. It's because I'm like, it's mine too. So that's when I decided. I was 36 at that time, so I was like, what's the best way to get out there? I'm like, singing show. So I went on, came in second place. So it all worked out.
It worked out. And by the way,
that's the short version.
That's the short version. And honestly, you can never go wrong with Joe Lesty and Alex Grossi. I mean, Alex is a great dude. But okay, so you do the X Factor and you go on to the singing show. What sort of motivated you to keep going? Because as you said, you were in your later 30s. Why not just say, hey, you know what? I tried it. It's past my prime. I'm just going to go and be a dad, like you said. And what sort of led you to the Stone Temple Pilot auditions and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to give this one more shot?
Yeah, I mean, I had put a band together after the TV thing because I had all that exposure and had a lot of offers to go do some amazing things. Like I played in Zeresh in Jordan, like the old 4,000-year-old ruin. It was badass. So I got to do a lot of really cool things and travel. And I had a band that I put together of all the people I wanted. And before I left for that trip, I had heard that that's when I heard about their open audition. But I was like, you know what? They'll find the right guy. It'll be perfect, and it'll be great. And then I got back months later, and they still hadn't found anyone. So I made a few phone calls and got myself in the room, basically. Yeah. And that was, it was like, you know what? If it was actually. It almost felt as a fan of Stone Temple Pilots and being such a big fan of their music. It was because they came out when I was 16, so it was very formidable to my musical journey and upbringing, basically. Along with Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and all that stuff. I loved it all, and so basically, I felt this sense of duty almost, like, well, if I'm gonna bitch about who they get, I might as well just go throw my hat in the ring, So that's what I did, knowing that people were going to do exactly what I would have done,
Yeah, and it worked out. Now I know we have exactly 20 minutes on the dot here, so I'd love to explore Rival City Heights tour of the Middle East, because that to me was something unique. But let me just quickly get over.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would take a whole 10 minutes, which we don't have. So let me just quickly get over to the Stone Temple Pilots acoustic record that you have spoken about as far back as March. Where are we in that process? And, what are we doing? Are we looking back at the entire catalog and picking out the hits? Is it all new songs? Is it a combination of both? What is the acoustic record?
There's no rules on it having to be acoustic or anything. It's just it has a vibe to it, and it's all it's very instrumentally, and I mean, very instrumentally sound and sonic, and it's beautiful, and it's actually finished. It's all new songs. And with the Purple thing happening, and that's going out, it's pushing back the other thing, because we were only supposed to do a few songs, and it turned into a full record because we had so much creativity happening at the time. So we just made a whole record, and yeah, it's definitely different. It's different. It's a different, but it's a very beautiful record, and I'm really happy with it.
Oh, great! So, and if I heard you correctly, you said it's all new songs. So this is not a greatest hits done.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
all new songs.
That's not only interesting, but I'm going to say also very courageous when you're introducing a new singer to go into it. That's good for them. Good for Stone Temple Pilots for having the balls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll give them kudos for that. Now, you did mention Purple. It is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. There's a huge deluxe edition coming out. Now, obviously, you didn't play on it. We know that. But as a fan, were you attracted to that album back then? And now that you've had a chance to sort of sing the songs on stage for the last couple of years, how do you sort of connect to that album? What can you tell me about your personal experience with Purple?
Yeah, because when Purple came out, it was definitely a departure from core, and I was really into Pantera and all kinds of stuff back then, So it was, and I loved core, and then it was a new sound all of a sudden, and it was different, but I understood it, I was like, oh, I get that, I get what they're doing, and that's really great that they did that, and they kind of made that turn, and that record took balls, I feel, because that was, definitely wasn't core, so I was like, wow, this is and it really opened up my mind to how to write lyrics and how to take people on a journey, and really the way it was performed, the way it was written, it was just so impressive to me at the time, especially coming from core, which is still my favorite. Vaseline is still heavy to me, and I had to understand why Vaseline is heavy. I'm like, it's heavy because of the emotion of the song, not the actual part. So that was something I learned when that came out, and then getting able to sing that stuff live every night. It takes me back. It takes me back to my experience with that record, and I hear their stories, and they talk about all that stuff. So I'm always thinking about all that stuff when I'm out there doing that. It's a beautiful thing to be able to sing Stone Temple Pilots songs every night.
It really is. So let me ask you this then. Now that you're Stone Temple Pilots singer, you're doing great. I can prove it. I was at a show. I know it's great. Do you see yourself doing this for the next sort of 10 years and this is your career? Or do you still want to go out and do a Jeff album and have a side project? Or is that, okay, no, I'm done. It's this or nothing?
Well, no, I'm fully committed to Stone Temple Pilots, and I don't want to be one of those guys that puts his voice on everything, that people ask him to. So, I had a project that I was working on I was in the studio, and I was working with some great producers and some great musicians, and I got that about half finished before all this happened. So I kind of dropped it, and I hate leaving things unfinished. So at some point, I'm going to finish that with those cats and get that out. But that's down the road sometime when these guys want to take a long break and be like, hey, we're going to chill for a little bit. I'll be like, all right, I'll go do that then. So that'll happen someday, but I'm not really on the horn every day about it.
Well, hey, we'll see. Now, listen, we've got 20 minutes, so we still got 4. So let me go back to this tour of the Middle East in 2015. How part of the Princess Alaya Foundation. Was that something that was very exciting? Was it dangerous in any sense? To have, and I don't want to get political, but to have an American going over, was it dangerous? Did you ever feel you were in danger?
Not at all. No, it's actually. I was with the royal family because Princess Ali had hit me up and said, "You need to come to Jordan." So I went there and had my son baptized in the River Jordan at the 4 Pillars and all that. And it was all great. And that was actually the night of the first show. So that was the morning of the night of the first show. So and then we played out in Jaresh, which was unbelievable because it's like open sky and it's this old, stone Coliseum, and then from there we went around and we always had like Royal Guard with us, and it was always pretty good. We had great hotel rooms and we went everywhere. We went to Cairo, we went to Istanbul, we went to where else did we go? We went to Dubai, and we went to India. And yeah, we were everywhere. It was great. And it lasted months because we just kept flying back and forth to Jordan. That was kind of our home base. Wow. Beautiful country. There's so many amazing old temples and stone castles, and no one goes there. So the pottery laying on the ground is like, you got Byzantine right next to like modern stuff. It's insane.
That sounds completely inspiring. Did that experience, and I'm going to ask you 2 things, did it change you? And 2, has it given you any sort of creative burst in terms of lyrical content or wanting to write something? Or how did that, because that's not just nothing. That's a major event, I would think.
Yeah, it was pretty life-changing. Yeah, definitely. I did a version of Chris Isaac's Wicked Game with a Jordanian singer called Hannah Malhas. And she wrote all this Arabic part in the beginning and the intro, and then I go into the song and we kind of sing it back and forth. And in the lyrics, I don't want to fall in love, and towards the end we say, we just want to fall in love. So it was kind of like bringing the 2 cultures together and trying to bridge that gap a little.
Oh, that's great. And as we wind down here, we talked about the tour with Rival Sons. We talked about the acoustic album. Is there an acoustic tour coming up? I'm sure there will be at some point. There's going to be action musicians and all that, so it's going to be real exciting for us. So we just have to look at each other's mugs all the time and get to hang with some other folks and do some creative stuff. So I'm sure there will be. I just have no idea a timeline for any of that yet because with the Purple coming out, and which is awesome. It's getting kind of, it has to be moved back so it can have its own space now. So, okay. So there you go.
It's so good. And it's so different. It's very different than anything Stone Temple Pilots has done, in my opinion.
Perfect.
As a fan of Stone Temple Pilots, looking in.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And of course, tour dates and album info, Purple info, all that can be found at StoneTemplePilots.com. Jeff, thank you for the interview last year. Thank you for that great show with Seether. And thank you for today. As we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Yeah, man. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon. Rock Talk.